Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Stage Diving with Scotty. My guest today is Micah Smith from the band Empty Atlas. Thanks for being on my show, man.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Finally!
I know. I was
I,
trying to put together in my head how long we've known each other exclusively through Facebook Messenger. So
it's probably been about maybe 3 years, maybe a
that's
little less
crazy.
than three. I'm glad we're finally doing this.
For sure.
Well, okay. So I don't, this was fun about doing this show is all the different kind of genres, right? And
Mhm.
what's great is, and I don't mean this, don't take any offense to this, but I know no knowledge of your background or anything. So we don't have to really go super into it if you don't want to, but I might ask you a little, familiar questions I'm sure you've been asked before on podcasts.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty offended actually, so I think I'm gonna leave.
well, okay, well, I won't say, so how was
I'm
the
just kidding. I'm just
beginning
kidding.
of your life?
No, so I can tell you very quickly, so I was doing the project. It had a different name originally before it was Empty Atlas. I was doing it solo, and then it's the name was embarrassing to me. So that's about the only thing about the early days that I've changed entirely. As it became Empty Atlas in like 2014, but I was still um, a lot of it. I was still playing by myself a lot, and it was still kind of figuring that stuff out. Then I started kind of playing with the same group of guys that recorded our first album Hestia with me. So you'll notice like only, and it's only because Apple Music took it down, and I never have been able to reach anyone from Apple to go, hey, why? They just took it down. But we have a double EP is what I call it, anniversary. That's actually the first stuff we ever recorded. Before it was even technically Empty Atlas. A lot of it was me still solo. So
Oh,
anniversary, like which got headline on it and take and a couple others that people still really like. Um, that was the first thing we ever did, and it was like before it was technically Empty Atlas. So I put it together again all together as anniversary. And then I
okay.
played with the same group of guys for like 2 years. We recorded Hestia together, but none of those guys could tour at the time or anything like that. Everybody had families, and it just became impossible to really kind of do stuff with any consistency. So actually, at our album release show for Hestia, my friend Alex, that now plays bass for us, who used to play guitar for me a long time ago, he was like, he had just moved back into town from Nashville, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever need anybody, I'm around." And then my friend Brennan Michael White, that plays lead guitar for us, he came to the album release show and said, "I don't know if you'd ever need another guitar player or anything, dude, but I'm around. I think it'd be really cool. I'd enjoy it." I was like, "Okay, cool. That's weird. He doesn't even know."
There's
And then the
two.
weird one was Bobby, Robert Curry Hanser, that plays drums for us. Um, so Bobby was like played in another band called Throwaways, and I didn't even realize we played this show with them only like 2 weeks before, and that was our
Oh,
first time ever meeting him at all. And I didn't realize that was like that band's last show. So we connected on his band's last show. And then he literally came to one rehearsal where I was like, it was me and the guys that are now like the full lineup of the band. This was like beginning of 2017. And I was like, yeah, we'll just see how it goes. And literally that first practice, I think we had 4 songs ready to go and wrote a new one. And I was like, well, that's unique, isn't it? That's pretty crazy. So we've been playing together ever since 2017, like very first week of 2017. So it's been pretty nuts. But we're still going. We did our first full length album together. Is Kairos, which is like a direct follow up to Hestia. They're kind of two sides of the same coin, is the idea.
yeah.
And then now we're writing a bunch of new stuff together. It's still going. It's been pretty awesome.
I would. That's what's so cool. I noticed about that. Yeah, the sort of the flip of the coin kind of a thing with the covers. Who does your covers?
So yeah, the first one was done by a really talented tattoo artist. But I mean, she does all kinds of stuff now. She does a lot of mural work as well. Asia Sanders. Um, and then actually, we weren't really able to work with her on Kairos, and we kind of also wanted it to be just different enough that it feels like cohesive,
Yeah.
but still is like a unique flavor because it's definitely a different sounding album. Like I think they go together really well as they always were supposed to. But I was like, it's a different album. So actually, my wife did the album artwork for Kairos, and since then she's
Wow.
done like the single cover for Matador, for our song Half Magic, for our cover release of I Can't Make You Love Me. She's done a lot of stuff for me, but
Wow.
I did say, I was like, this, we got a new single that's coming out at the end of July, and she did the cover artwork for that one, but she was like so tense and frustrated about the whole thing that I was like, do you want this to be the last one? I don't feel like you're having fun. So I think I think I think she's gonna retire from doing our cover art just because I was like, I feel like if you're not having fun, I'm forcing you to, and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that'll
you
be
you live with her, you got to deal with it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I'd rather not have her feel like she's like an unpaid intern for the band. Is not it's not ideal.
well, how long does it take her to do that stuff? That seems like, I mean, because it seems very detailed and all the color and design, just
She
everything.
works so fast. It's nuts.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so she does a lot of different stuff. She's a visual artist and she's also like a web designer and mobile app
Oh,
designer, and she's good at all of the things. She also has built furniture for our house and stuff. The things that my speakers are sitting on right now, my wife built that. And it's like you can't see those. I don't know why I'm like gesturing something nobody can see. Um, but but she's like good at all the things. But at the same time, I was like, I think the cover artwork stresses her out too much. So I was like, okay, this will be the end of that. We'll do something else. I've got to find somebody to work with on that.
oh my goodness, dude. That but those are some fantastic covers. They really,
She's
it's
so
some
good,
great
man.
artwork. It really
Well,
is.
and
It's
that's
spectacular.
the thing too is like so you know a little bit about this that other people kind of wouldn't, but all the singles that we've been putting out since Kairos came out have all been part of the same project, all to go together. They're all singles, but I wanted there to be a cohesive look to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're all kind of telling the same story in a different way and all thematically connected because I can't not write based on concepts. I don't know how anyone does. But like it all kind of goes together. So I'm glad we've put these all together in that way. But I'm like, we'll see where it goes visually from here. But I'm kind of glad we're kind of putting a nice button on this next single that I'm really excited about. So
Yeah.
we'll see
And
where it goes visually from there.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see who you get and what the idea is. And well, I mean, you said you have 4 new songs or whatever you guys are in the works
So
of.
yeah, well, so I mean, we've got a full length album written. It's just been putting it out little bit by little bit. I mean, being an independent artist, like it's hard to come up with a lot of money, and
Yeah,
recording costs a lot of money.
yeah,
And like I hate that that's ever like a consideration because I'd love to just be like it's all about the art and you don't ever have to think about finances at all.
yeah,
But it's
right.
like, well, if you don't have money, no one's ever going to be able to hear that thing because you can't go record it. And to me, we kind of decided very early on, it's like, hey, even if it means we get to record a little bit less, which maybe one day somebody will just decide to come bankroll us and just be like, like give us all the money to record whatever we want. But
It'd be
um,
crazy
but
not to.
yeah, yeah, totally. Tell them that. No, but we kind of were like, well, we'll kind of phase it out as much as we need to as far as recording a single at a time for this new project, and just doing as much as we can on the budget we can, and and also just trying to like stay consistent. Like I don't want to totally play like the single game of like it's about singles. You just keep releasing singles and you never do an album until they make you do an album is what somebody told me, and I was like, I don't care. I was like, these ones work as singles. If they didn't work as singles, I wouldn't put them out as singles. So
Yeah, true, true.
um but I'm really excited for all the stuff we've written. These we've put out. I don't think that the cover song will make it onto the final album. It was always kind of designed to be a little bit separate. It's still part of this release window, but it's kind of unique. So we've got 3 songs that will be out for the album already. With this next song, that'll be the third one, and then
So
we've
the
got the rest
was
of the
it
album's already written.
so is it in an EP or is it actually a full length?
It'll be a full length whenever we're done. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just taking time and doing that whole thing. But we've got it all written. Like
Wow.
it's ready to record, and we're still like we're tracking little bit by little bit on everything, but we're trying to do it as smart as we can.
And I apologize. Where are you located again? Where's your
Yeah, so we're based in Jackson, Mississippi,
that's
and then
right.
actually our guitarist Brennan Michael White. That's another thing that makes it kind of tough is Brennan moved to Nashville about a year ago now, and so Brennan is based in Nashville, doing really well, doing a lot of like session work for folks, and he's been crushing it up there. But it does mean that I want to make it worth his while and pay his gas money, and like he would do it for free, but I don't want to make him do it for free because that's like
Yeah.
it feels I'm tearing him away from other stuff when I do that. So, which any bigger band, that's what they're doing. They're paying people to come record and stuff. So I'm like, well, I want to make sure that we treat him fairly. And it's like it's not a short drive, man. It's like a 6-hour drive between here
Yeah.
and Nashville. Yeah. But it's been going really good. Like we've written still and recorded several things since he moved. So I'm like, we're still doing great. It's been pretty awesome.
You and I, have you finally gone dim from the glorious light that surrounds you at all times? I'd hold up fingers, but you won't look me in the eye.
For sure. I mean, so you're making it worth his time regardless, because he's passionate, obviously, with the music that you write. So
yeah, man, he's every guy in the band is very much like a songwriter in their own right, and like we all kind of collectively come together, and I'll usually kind of have a little bit of a bass to it all. I'll just have like some of the vocals, maybe all of the vocals, and then just sort of like the basic structure.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of take it everywhere else. So what's been really kind of amazing actually is since he moved is we've had the chance to go, well, here's this bass. I send it to everybody. Everybody kind of works on ideas, and then we talk through them together. We play through them together. And in the studio, it's literally like, okay, well, we've got like what we know is the basic structure of the song, and then we get to get a little experimental with it. And it's been pretty great because weirdly, like with Kairos, like I still love everything on that album. I'm very proud with, and like there's nothing I would change, except give ourselves more time. Like just because. Yeah. There's the whole like, well, you got the studio for a weekend, you got to record 2 songs, 3 songs, and you're like, but what we've been doing is like a whole weekend on one song, and Matador is a perfect example of like what happens when we get that time. This new song, I'm really excited for people. It's called Belong. And it really is another one that I'm like, oh, I feel so good about this. Like walking out of the studio, we were all like, holy crud, that's what happens when you just give us time to do the thing we want to do.
Yes. You know what? If it's going to go out there, then take the time and make it worth someone's time that they'll go back to it.
For sure. And there's the fine line, right? Where it's like, well, on one hand, we're going to be our toughest critics, and we're going to go, well, okay, well, I would keep doing this, and you'd keep toiling with it forever. So like we do have a hard line where we go, is it good, like good, or is it just good enough? But also, is it great without going, okay, now we're just making changes to make changes. Like, so we try to hit the point of like where we go, this is great, and there's nothing else we want to do, and anything else would just be changes for change's sake. We try to be really healthy. I mean, honestly, our bassist Alex, who, I mean, he also plays keys, he does all kinds of stuff, but Alex Ingram is like, to me, is like one of those guys you put in the studio, and he's going to have 12 ideas and go, let's try it, and goes, didn't work, let's try this, didn't work, didn't try this, and he goes, love that, hold on to it. And he's going to be that guy who goes, but he's always the one who goes, hey, don't spend too much time on a thing that isn't working. I think it's pretty fantastic. I'm like, you can't ask for a better person to have in a band than the guys I have, because every one of them is like, I mean, we really do produce it all together, and like it is very much. Every single person will try different ideas, kind of pitch different ideas to things. And like, there's something in the new song that's this like drum part that we did not have at all. We'd played through it multiple times, even like worked with it the night before we recorded it, and didn't have this part. And then the day of, Bobby did 2 takes of this one section that I was like, those are fantastic, we can move forward. And he goes, let me do one thing. That, I was like, yeah. Yes, of course, that's it. It just was like it popped in his head randomly. So you have to like allow yourself those without letting yourself get totally caught up, like you said, demo-itis, where it's like it feels like the song can go anywhere, so you let it go anywhere. And it's like, what's the best version?
Yes.
Oh, exactly. there's a I can't remember who said it. Very famous producer whose name is escaping me, but he said like basically, I'm not good at music. I have good taste. And that's to me like what a really good producer is like somebody who just like goes, yeah, that's the best version of that thing.
I like
and it's like, you don't have to tell us why it works musically. You just know it feels right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think every one of the guys is good at that.
Then you're spoiled.
I know it.
No wonder why No wonder why your band's so freaking good.
Dude, thank you. I'm I'm really proud. Like it truly like I don't know. I love, you know, I love taking like a song that I wrote and go, but what is it when it becomes an Empty Atlas song? Like it's one
Yeah.
thing when I wrote it and it's sitting there, but as soon as like I bring it into the room with the guys, like it's gonna change in the best ways possible. And
Yeah.
we're not the same band without the same guys, you know. It's just true.
Very true.
I don't know. I spent a long time like writing stuff by myself before like really working with this group. And you kind of start feeling until you meet like the perfect lineup. It's like it really is like you just find three other soulmates and you're like, there you go. That's your band. But like before that, like it did sort of feel like, and this is no slight I played with great musicians. I always have. It's been I've been super blessed in that way.
Mm.
But like it just doesn't feel the same as when you find your group and it's like, dude, you cannot recreate this.
Yeah.
It's lightning in a bottle. And like thankfully we've just been able to keep doing more lightning in a bottle. We've created a lightning in a bottle factory and just keep really I sound like I'm cheering myself on going like, man, we're so great. But like I just am like
No, but you should
uh
be proud of what
I'm
you've
proud of what I
accomplished.
do,
Yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
more
There's
proud
nothing
of
wrong
the
with that.
guys I work with. Like that's the thing I'm proud of. Like it sounds like I'm going like, man, we're so great, but I'm like, no, they're so great. I just get to play with them.
I
It's
get that.
it's pretty
Yeah.
great.
No, that's fantastic. And you should be, I mean, proud of something like that because that's really hard to find. Like you said, it's like,
For sure.
lightning in a bottle or magic in a bottle. Cause it's very similar with me. I did kind of like you where I mean, kind of like you. I did stuff on my own for the longest time and could not
Yeah.
find the project, could not find the right people or to find the right style. And lo and behold, I found Aaron on, I think it's called
Band mix.
yes, thank you. Yeah, band mix.
Dude, I tried band mix and I remember going, this is terrible. So I'm surprised you which no, whoops. I don't know if they're a sponsor of the show. Are they a sponsor?
No, I have
No,
no sponsors.
I'm just kidding. But no, like it's great. I have heard like great stories where random people were like, no, that's my band now is because of that. And you're like, that's crazy. Cause like all I got was like people being like, do you want to play a bunch of Alan Jackson songs? Cause you can do that. And I was like, I don't, thank you.
Yeah, that's what was so weird about that thing because I think I said it a million times, but you always
Mhm,
found someone who was either wanted to be in a really big cover band, either
mhm.
play like super metal or like just like old classic rock and roll, and just like, does anybody want to play something in between? Does anybody
I
know what
know.
emo is? Does anybody know what, like, maybe pop punk is? And I
Okay,
don't know.
so here's the answer then, Scotty. We start a new business. We're gonna open a band mix, but it's called Band Mix, but for alt kids, and we're gonna like for all the other genres, anything that's between like like between
Metal
Korn
and
and
country.
Alan Jackson.
I like this. We should develop this. I want to kind of rewind just a little bit because
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
speaking of beginnings, um, what what was it that got you? Was it like your parents got you into music, or was it just something you heard on the radio and you just knew? Like, what was the thing that sparked for you?
So it's like a weird combination, probably. So like I
Okay.
very much grew up in church, and my dad used to be a drummer, like in worship bands when you would get chased out of town for having a drummer. Like that was my dad, and so like we always had instruments around the house. So I'm like I was like playing on stuff for the longest time, but I never really started trying very hard until really high school was when I took it to a point where I'm like, well, I just always sang in choir and then I did like musical theater and stuff. But and singing choir, I'm talking like church choir where you went once or two times like a month or something. And
Yes.
so I didn't like learn it. I'm not like classically trained at all. Um, and then in high school I started playing bass at first in no, I guess it was yeah, 8th grade. I started playing bass in a worship band, and then freshman year I was like, well, I kind of want to write songs and I can't do that as easily on bass. And so I started playing acoustic a little bit, but truly like it wasn't until maybe I don't know, maybe like sophomore year of college is when I actually started going like, I really want to do something with this and more than just
Yeah.
like writing songs for myself. Um, so the first music I ever recorded actually was like my senior year of high school, and I'm really proud because I don't think many people can say this, and I'm really lucky. But the first songs I ever recorded were like Headline and Merit and A Great Cloud, which are on the anniversary. and I still think they sound really good. And like,
Whoa.
and I was like, yeah, that I got lucky. Like, there's other songs that I wrote back in the day that I'm like, if those were the songs, I think I'd be embarrassed. But like, I feel pretty good about the ones that are actually out in the world. So that was like, yeah, those were the first recordings I ever did, and they're still out there, and I feel good about them still. So that's been pretty cool. But yeah,
That's really cool. It's not too often you hear someone say that
no,
their first
man,
couple of recorded songs were fantastic.
no, I really am very lucky that those are the ones, and people still like those and ask for those songs, which I'm like, that's crazy. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I wrote this one when I was a senior in high school. That seems insane that I'm still playing it. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked about those songs still, and glad they exist. Yeah.
Yeah. With choir and stuff, did you develop your style just on your own, or did you kind of like sort of like pick and choose from other people and kind of like develop your sound from other musicians?
I think I did accidentally. So
Oh,
so
really?
like there's I'll always remember this because this one's like the first one I really was like, I think I can sing like better than I thought I could. Was like, we had just moved to Mississippi from Louisiana. I was living in Baton Rouge, and then we moved to Jackson. And then like I was in my, like, we were in this like kind of starter home, like just in the process of moving and stuff and renting this out. And I was like on my dad's laptop in their like bedroom on the side table thing. And I was watching the music video for the middle. No.
Oh,
It was Sweetness by Jimmy Eat World.
Jimmy Eat World, yeah.
And I was like singing that, and I was like, that's really high. And then I was like, let me just try it. So I'm like in this tiny house screaming like the Sweetness. And I was like, hey. And then I got my older sister. I was like, does this sound good? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, all right. And so like I remember that being the first one. I was like, okay, maybe I can like kind of do, because I've been listening to that style of music and really in more in like the emo realm and like alternative everything. But I was like, I don't think I can sing that, because a lot of people have much higher voices than me in that genre and that whole area. And I was like, well, maybe I'm not like cut out for that. I don't know. But then I don't know. I don't know what happened. I feel like I always like was listening to stuff with much higher vocals. So I was like, maybe I suck, like, because I don't sing as high as that guy. So like I think that was the one that changed, where I was like, oh, I actually can sing higher than I think, and then I sound like that guy a little. I don't know. I don't think I sound that much like Jimmy Eat World.
No, I don't think I don't think you sound like Jim Atkins at all, honestly. That's what I mean. Like, I feel like you have such a very rich voice. So it just seems like like someone taught you how to do that, and just, I don't know, you seem very honed in on it. Because I mean, okay, so let me tell you something, a quick story. It's not really a story, but for those of you who don't know, Micah did the Spacing Effect a favor, and he sang on one of our songs called Tremors.
Proud
And dude, okay, so a close friend of ours, I sent her a copy of it, and it was after it was mixed and everything, and I sent it to her, and she goes, that's a really good song. She goes, I have to admit, I like it from the second part on. And I'm going, oh, is it because Micah's singing?
Oh, no.
And she goes, yeah, he's got a good voice. And I was like, no. But it's so true. It's so freaking true.
I think but you wrote all that part. You wrote all the melody and stuff. All I added to it was harmonies. You know what I mean? Like you provided everything that is there. So don't sell yourself short. That song is good because you wrote that song.
Well, don't get me wrong. I like the song. That song means a lot to me. So when you sang it and you added that richness and the passion in your voice of what you did, like, it really did bring it to life. My wife cried. I cried. My brother cried. So
just making people cry all over.
I know, it's all your fault.
Somebody told me earlier today that my friend Jaden was like, yeah, I played your song Half Magic for a friend, and she cried. And I was like, I guess that's good. I was like, and then my wife can't listen to Half Magic because she's like, I cry in that song. I can't listen to that one. So I'm like, well, I guess it's effective. Just making everyone cry.
You're breaking people's hearts left and right. Empty Atlas, yeah.
That's what we're about. We want to make you like move around and jump and enjoy yourself. But then also right after that, put out a song that's going to make you cry for a year.
Yes. Yep. So with your particular style of singing though, was Empty Atlas the kind of style you already were making that kind of style, that sort of like emo, alternative rock kind of a thing? Or were you a little more experimental? Were you a little more rock, like with your solo stuff? Like, did you
Yeah.
kind of already always have that sort of Empty Atlas sound?
I think, thankfully, well, unless you don't like it, then it's not thankfully. But I do think we've always kind of had that sound. Um, the only difference really is like the early stuff. I was writing it a lot more on acoustic, so I think you can feel
Oh, okay.
a little bit of the pop kind of poking out a little bit more than maybe on some of our more recent stuff. But like, it does feel good that like, okay, the new song that we're about to put out, Belong. If you listen to that and then you listen to our song Take, that was like the second EP I ever did, and it was like maybe only like the seventh or eighth song I'd ever written. Like that song, like these songs kind of still work together, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like I feel like it's nice that somebody can listen to that and be like, that's crazy that you put those out like a decade apart almost.
Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh, it is going to be a full decade apart. That seems not right. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like what I just did to myself.
You
Okay,
old son.
I'm very old. I'm not that old, but I've been putting out music a long time.
But that's dude,
Um,
that's so cool
yeah.
though.
And I don't want to brag on us. I really just want to like brag on the guys I play with and like how much work we put into it. But like I really do think we're the best version of Empty Atlas there's ever been. And I think as we keep working on stuff, like it just gets better, which feels good because there's plenty of bands like I love that it's like it feels like the longer they're together, you're like, oh no, they put out more music. And that's a bummer. Like when you know what I mean?
Yes.
When you love a band, but they put out more music that you're like, all right, like I'm gonna try it. To me, have you ever listened to The Main?
The Main?
Yeah,
I don't
like
think
they
I've heard of them actually.
they were kind of like bigger for just a minute a long time ago, and they're still putting out music that I think is their best music they've ever done. But like nobody
Ooh,
listens to it
interesting.
anymore, and it bums me out because I'm like, this is amazing. Like they're really good. And to me, I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, if we can do that, like, and they're signed to like I think they're on like Warner Brother Records or something. So they're like
Oh
they're on
wow.
like a
Okay.
big label and
Yeah.
still just doing it. But I'm like, man, if we can get on the mains level at some point, that would be let's do that. Because
Well,
I really do think they're a band that also like they give me hope that like, yeah, you can keep doing it and with the same guys and get better and better. I really do think that.
well, that's good. I'm no, I think that's fantastic because I hate the fact that I can't, I shouldn't say hate, but it's just an unfortunate thing when you feel like the only way you can evolve is by being inconsistent with your sound.
Yeah.
And there's some bands that could pull that off, obviously, but there's some bands where you just kind of go, why did you change? And then some
Mhm.
bands you go, hey, they're just doing the same thing. Like if you pretty much like, here's a really, really simple example is Social Distortion. You know what
Yeah.
you're getting with Social Distortion, and you just
Yeah.
you're going in, you're going to get the 1 2 3 click, and then or the feedback, and then here comes the song, and you know exactly what you're getting, and they nail it
Like
to the
I
second.
feel really good about everything we've been putting out recently. And like I do think there on the one hand it's like it's more experimental in terms of like we're starting in different places. We're twisting ourselves in our songwriting process to get different results.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that keeps it like fresh for us.
Yes,
But
yes.
like and I really do think it keeps it fresh for listeners too. Like, but without it being like, and here's our country album, and there you go. Like I don't know. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to
Yeah,
go like, hey, what you like about the band is gone. But I do
yeah,
want to show you what you like about the band if you like the band. Show you that in a different light and present new things.
yeah.
And also, I mean, I'm a really big lyrics person. If it's
Yes,
not a
you are.
song with a point,
Mhm.
if I don't have a point of view and don't have is something to say, we're never going to put that song out. Like I want this is like one of those things that I say that I'm like it sounds so conceited, but I'm like I don't mean it in any way that's about me. But like I keep doing this today, like pounding my chest like I'm a weird ape. Anyways, but like to me, I want it to be where if you decided to go study every single one of our songs lyrically and break it down song by song, you would find something in every one of them that you didn't necessarily hear the first time you listened to it.
Yeah.
I want there to be something in the lyrics, something in like the melody and the delivery that is always, you can find more, you can keep digging at it. Because like I'm also like a huge movie buff, and like I love films, and like that's my favorite type of movies, is when you're like, okay, that moment is like filled with something interesting that you just don't necessarily see at first. I want our music to be that for everybody. I want it lyrically and sonically to be that.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to do.
I am with you 100% on that, because that's something that, well, that's the one thing that drives me. I know as I'm older, I kind of get into a little more sonic and have, the stuff that's going to be a little more ear pleasing. But
Hmm.
I think deep inside, I'm always a lyric guy, because that will mean more to me and be more savory than the ear candy, because that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
will speak to me. But that's why I love Jeremy Enoch. That's why I love Jeremy Enoch and Chris
For sure.
Simpson and a lot of these people who just, they know what they're writing about. And even though they may say something where this is something they were going through and it's for that particular thing, for what I was going through and whatever I was going in my life, it means just as much as me, even though it may not be what he was going through. That's the stuff that I love. That's the stuff that I could talk about all day long, and movies in that regards too. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Songs are like the best Rorschach painting, where it's like whatever you're going
oh, I
through,
love that.
people can hear and feel something totally different. Like I had a friend reach out about one of our songs and tell me his version of what the story, our song Sway, and he told me what his version of the story of the song was, and I was like, that is not at all what it is to me. But
Yeah.
I was like, that makes me more happy than if you were just like, oh yeah, and you're saying this and it's about this and that's it. Like I'm like, I don't get me wrong, like I love when anybody like pays attention enough to know it's about anything at all. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, right.
but to me, like it's really cool when somebody can go, hey, I've been going through this and this song hit me in that way. It just feels really, really cool. I don't know,
That's
something pretty awesome.
it is, and that's one of those beautiful things. I know we've said it a million times on this show, but that's one of the most beautiful things is when our music hits somebody in what they're going through. And yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that they're going through it, but it's a fortunate thing that it's something, what they're going through, you are touching them through it, if that makes
Yeah,
any
I've
sense.
always like kind of internally described our music like when everything I say sounds so pretentious, but I'm like, we're also like a fun band. Like you can listen to the music and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like just so you guys know, you can listen to it and enjoy yourself too. Like I, you know, but like I've always kind of described it as like I want to write music for people who need music. Like,
Yeah.
because
I like
that's to
that.
me like the bands I loved growing up were the ones where it's like, no, it felt like they needed to write that because they knew somebody needed to hear it, and they also just needed to get it out of themselves. And like I want us to be a band that can do that while still writing stuff that's like fun to listen to, that you can put on
Yeah.
a playlist and not feel like insane that it's on there. Like I I understand like Half Magic, our song is like it's a piano ballad. And I'm like, no one's like jamming out to that for like let's
Yeah.
put that on at the party, guys. Like having a good time. But like that's not what that song's for either. Like our song
Exactly. Yeah.
Matador is a lot more like, to me, is like that, but
That's
there's a
true.
reason we put
Yeah.
that out and then put out Half Magic. It's like these are two very legitimate sides of ourselves that we wanted to put side by side, you know?
Yeah.
It's half the magic, the first part of a parlor trick. You make it disappear, but you can't get it back. But you love the beginning, when they're laughing and grinning. Everyone is so in love with what you have.
Real quick, let's go through. I haven't seen all of them. I don't know how many you have actually, but I know you've done a couple of music videos.
Yeah.
So
Um,
how do you have any story like funny stories from those?
yes. So the first music video we ever did, and I do think it looks really cool still, but there are some
Oh no.
we're gonna tell on ourselves so bad. so there's some moments that I was like, that's weird. Why are we doing that? And the guy who made it is really, really talented. And he's a much more visual storyteller than me. But there's one where our guitarist at the time, Jacob, it's like we got all these cool shots. We rented out this like old house that's like it got this old like creaky barn that we shot some shots on. It's really cool. That's the first music video we ever did was House Fire. And we shot it's so cool looking. But
Oh no.
there's also a random shot where it cuts to Jacob just sitting in a bathtub playing guitar. And I was like, huh. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then there's also a shot of our drummer that played on Hestia, Sanders, is still a good friend of ours. Jacob and Sanders are both good friends of ours. And they still play music around town and stuff. But Sanders is playing drums on his knee at one point on the porch, and he just looks like an old man doing like just sitting in his rocker, just playing drumsticks on his knee. And I'm like, I think it's a really cool music video, except for those two shots. And it just makes me laugh. But and then I think the one that is like the most proud I've ever been, because Jake Slinkard, our friend, directed and had a really good vision for it, is the one for Matador, which is our like, newest like big single. And we shot it on the Mississippi State Fairgrounds, like rented out like the arena where they do like livestock shows and stuff. Yeah. But if I can tell on myself, and it's really dumb. So Jake, whenever we were setting things up and I was kind of like helping coordinate some of the logistics, Jake was like, hey, we should talk to them about renting that out and shooting in there. And so I rented out like the full rodeo arena, like the giant one. And we walked in and he goes, this isn't the one I was talking about at all. And I was like, which one is there? And he goes, you see how big this is, right? And I was like, yeah, that's why I was like rented it out, because you said you wanted the one where they do like the like rodeos and stuff. And he's like, no, this isn't the one I was thinking of. And so then we walked like, and across the fairgrounds is like another smaller arena where they do livestock shows. He goes, yeah, that's the one. And then one of the guys later that helped us out, a really nice guy named Matt, who works for this like state fair stuff, and he was like our liaison throughout the day and kind of walked us around like while we did all the shots. And he was like, you probably could have gotten that one for free.
Thanks a lot.
And I was like, all right. Well, I didn't know. So I felt really stupid. But I didn't know. I didn't know there was like multiple arenas. I don't know. Anyway, but the video is not of the main arena, because that one was too big. It is of the livestock arena, and it's pretty great. But I'm super proud of that video. Jake did an amazing job on it. It's cool.
Yeah, I like a really good video.
So yeah, anyways. And he's gonna do we haven't gotten to start on it yet, but we're gonna do another music video for our new song Belong. Cool. Jake is doing that one too, and has a really, really cool vision for that. We met up the other day and talked about it, and I'm like, I'm really stoked to work with him again. He's got such a cool like he'll tell you a thing and you go, I don't really totally get that. And as he starts talking, he can paint a picture in a way that you're like, holy crud, I'm excited to see that. And I'm like, oh, it's for our song too. That's neat. I wanted to see it either way. But he's great, like very talented.
Well, then I got just a couple more questions. With since you'll be doing that and be busy with that, I know you guys have been playing gigs here and there. How's that going? Do you have any like fun gigs? Anecdotes?
We've got some cool stuff coming up in the fall. It's been like a pretty slow little bit of summer here. Like we played a lot in May and early June, still just playing around the Southeast. But like June and like later June and then July will be a little bit slow, just because we're trying to kind of put together less in-person stuff and more online things to promote the single.
Yeah.
And then also just getting ready for some shows in the fall and trying to do some new things. We've got a very talented dude named Dusty that's been playing guitar with us too. And so he's going to be kind of working into the band as sort of like a touring musician with us. So we've been practicing with him too to get him ready, which he's so talented. I don't know that he needs practice, but we need practice with him. So that's been really cool with Dusty Goff. And then so I'm really excited for where we're going next. It's gonna be cool.
Okay, now with that, do you what's one of the best and worst things performing that happened to you guys?
Oh man. Okay. So this was recently published in a magazine called Soup Can.
I've never
That
heard
you
of
should
it.
look up. Yeah, they're like an indie one. They're really neat. But so this was like one of the worst ones. We played at this place in Birmingham that we've since gone to, and they're really, I like that venue a lot. It's the Nick in Birmingham. It's really cool. But kind of we booked this show. This is a long time ago now. We booked this show, all these cool like bands from Birmingham. They're all like indie rock bands. And then one of them, messaged us to say, hey, like we had to drop off. We got another offer we kind of can't say no to. And I was like, hey, totally understand. We got like 2 weeks until the show. That's no big deal. But then I didn't learn until like I think it was the day we got into town for the show that the other band, one of the other opening bands, had dropped off because they dropped off, and they told the venue instead of us, despite the fact like we were the ones who booked it.
Oh,
And so I was like, well, okay. So they were like playing across town, and I was like, all right,
my
whatever.
gosh.
But so yeah, they were like playing across town, and so the venue was like helping us out and put at first they put one hip hop band on with us, and I was like, that's cool. We like a mixed genre show. I like a mixed genre show a lot, actually. It's
Yeah,
a
but
lot of fun. We play with
that's kind of
no.
way.
I some of my favorite shows we've played have been either us playing with metal bands or us playing with hip hop acts. And like it's just people like a little bit of variety, and then it's been pretty cool.
Over
It's
here,
great.
over here.
I know you're not wrong, but but we had like one with us, and I was like, cool. That'll be fun. We like a mixed genre show. But then like the day of, they were like, hey, we put another hip hop act on the show too. So then it was us and two hip hop acts, and I was like, now we're the weird ones. And I was like, well, that'll be less cool. It'll just be like, what's this like little band of dudes who all look like IT guys doing in the middle of the hip hop show. So so I was like, all right, it's fine. I was like, we're already in town. We're gonna play the show and we still had a lot of fun. But so it gets to time for the show. We're supposed to play third, and nobody else is there. Like none of the other bands are there. And so I was like, okay, well, what do we do? Because we're not opening. We're from out of town. I don't know, like little rule of note for everybody if you don't know this, but like the out of town band, unless it's a huge band that people are coming to go see, like people know that band, you're not supposed to play first. Like don't play first. Put them on second or third.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to play third. Those other groups don't show up. And at some point, the guy who's like kind of running the show was like, okay, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what's up, but the guy who booked the show isn't here, and you guys got to play because we got to start the music. And I was like, that's fine. Totally understand. So we play it, and we ended up like doubling our set and stuff and playing a bunch of stuff that we were like not planning on playing because it was like, well, no one is here still. So like none of the other bands, I mean, there were people there to see us, thankfully. Otherwise, I think we would have just been like, oh no. But so we were playing, and literally again, we like doubled our set. We're playing the very last song, and then one of the groups comes in like,
oh my god.
And so they're all like, that was really good. Like why'd you guys play so early? And I was like, because you guys were supposed to be here. And then one of the dudes from that group was like, nah, man, like music doesn't start here until like 1 a.m. And I was like, that's not true, because the show started like 2 hours ago. And he was like, I don't know. And he's like, you guys gonna hang around? I was like, and we have never left. Like, sometimes individual members have had to leave or something, but like the band has never left before seeing every single person we're playing with play.
Yeah.
That one we left.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, man, we're gonna drive home now. We got a while to go. And so yeah, that was the worst one. And we also, I think we made like $20.
Oh, know how that is.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Oh well, anyways, it was fine.
And what was one of your best live performances?
Oh man,
one that sticks out in your mind?
Dude, I don't know. We've had a lot of luck.
Some really good ones.
We've been very fortunate.
Good.
So one of my favorite ones ever, just because we got to do something really unique. We played a thing called Red Brick Roads Festival. That was like Mark Broussard and there's a bunch of bands all opening. Like we were kind of opening for all these other bigger acts
Hmm.
and stuff at this festival that's in Clinton, Mississippi. It's not like the biggest festival of all time. It just was really cool and a really good turnout. But like for that one, I was like, well, we got the opportunity to do something kind of like unique in this, so let's do it. So we had our friend Judson Wright, who's this really fantastic saxophone player, and he joined us for a song. And like we were supposed to practice the week of, and he just couldn't make it to any of the practices.
Oh,
And I was like, oh man, I was like, I guess he's not gonna do it. And then he messages me and he goes, hey, I'm on the way to the show. Like I mean, like 30 minutes before.
oh
And
my gosh.
I was like, do you feel good about it? And he goes, yeah, 100%. And he got up on stage with us, just literally like walked up during I can't remember which song it was even. Oh, it was our song Vultures, I think. And he just walked up on stage and just did the coolest thing you've ever heard in your whole life. And I was like, why aren't we filming this? We should have been filming it. Because I was like, but honestly, that kind of makes it much more special to me, because it was like, we've never done it since. It was like one time.
It was in
It
the
was
moment.
just,
Yep.
yeah, I was like, you guys, if you weren't there, you missed it. And it was like, and he crushed it. And it was so cool. I mean, we're gonna get him to do another thing with us at some point, because he's so good.
Yeah.
But it just blew me away. And I was like, so that was one of the coolest moments, was like playing this festival and getting to do that with a friend, and something nobody expected, including us, honestly, because it was the day of. And I was like, that was so good, man. There's pictures of me where I'm literally going, because I was like, whoa, no way. It's pretty hilarious, because I'm literally like, I just look like a small child who you just were like, it's Christmas again.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyways.
Do you guys see? I love that. I love that. Gosh, I love that. Do you have any gigs coming up that maybe somewhat
So
soon?
one that we can confirm that's going to be really cool. We're playing in that is in October. Is a really good one. We got a bunch of stuff lined up before then that is like local and kind of more, I don't know. A lot of it's not totally confirmed yet and stuff, but the kind of bigger one that we've got, we're going to be playing this kind of opening festival thing in Covington, Louisiana.
Okay.
It'll be the first of its kind in Covington, and we're getting to, fingers crossed, as long as everything continues to be exactly what is currently on the calendar and everything, we're going to open for like Colony House, who all the guys in the band love Colony House. So I'm like really stoked for that.
Cool.
And it's going to be a really cool little festival. And we're pretty stoked about that, and playing some other like smaller festivals all around Mississippi and Alabama. So it's gonna be pretty cool. We haven't like announced a lot of stuff yet, but we will as soon as, like, you always want to like make sure it's 100% confirmed.
Yes.
And especially because we're the ones booking it ourselves, like we're the only ones to blame if you're like that fell through. I'm like, well, we're the ones who booked it, so that's our fault. So I just always want to have it confirmed before we say anything.
Well, cool, man. And then you have, you said you have Belong. Belong comes out.
Yeah, it's called Belong. It is a new single. I don't know where it'll be on the final album. Like, I have my like, I always write and then put songs in like the order that I imagine they'll be on the album, but we'll see what happens. But I am really like, this is one that as soon as like I wrote it and I was like, I think this is something really unique. And me and the guys were like all at the house and just running through songs and stuff for the next one. And I was like, hey, if we got a minute, I was like, can I just show you this and just see what we come up with? And actually there's like a lead riff that you'll hear in it, that our bassist, who is also a guitarist and also a keyboard player, Alex, can play everything. But he wrote that guitar part, and then Brennan kind of just added his own flavor to it when he played it in the studio. So like this one really is like a very group effort song, and it just feels really unique. I like it a lot. I'm very excited.
Good, man. And that,
Yeah.
you know what, that comes out
July 28th.
And you said your wife did the cover for this one too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gina did. It's Gina Smith is her name, and she did the cover art for this one too. This is her 6th Empty Atlas cover art, so she's pretty prolific, I would say. She's doing a lot.
You might have to start hitting up Nate Parrish.
Dude, I would love. Nate's also so talented. I don't know if anybody doesn't know, they already should by listening to your show. They'll have heard of Nate. But Nate Parrish is good at all the things. I would love to like try, just like make him start like trying to do cartwheels, see if he can like rock climb, just like make him do anything to find the one thing he's not good at. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be one thing Nate Parrish can't do.
I can't wait for him to hear that.
Yeah. Coming at you, Nate. We're going to find the thing you're bad at.
Oh my gosh. And I would love to have, I really do want to do this. Like, I want to do a live stage diving and just have, just kind of talk about anything and everything, get into dude. Comic book debates or, cause Nate and I had a little thing going.
Yeah, dude. You can't see it right now, but literally like my whole shelf is all like graphic novels and trade paperbacks of comics. And then in the closet is actually I turned that into a vocal booth. My wife helped build that too. She's really good at everything. I'm serious. She's the Nate of our family. And but there's literally like all my like boxes like comics and stuff are like in the corner of that still. And I'm like, it's so many. It's way too many. I stopped kind of collecting. I've always been more like just a reader and stuff, but like it's a lot. I have a lot.
Dude, I feel you. I literally last week, I sold my last comic book box and I got about like $350 for all of it.
Hey, that's pretty dang good.
It is, but it felt like, but that was cool because the part of me was like, I'm done with that now. And because I had to, because I spent way too much money on single issues. So I just I have like maybe that much of like trade paperbacks. It's like literally like Daredevil, a couple of Batmans, and Swamp Thing. That's all I have. Pretty much.
That's a good collection still, though. Yeah. which Swamp Thing? Oh, we're gonna get so nerdy at the end of this episode. What are people gonna do about it?
Okay, I'll be real quick. Okay, so I fell in love back in the comic books again when the New 52 came out. I fell in love, absolutely in love with Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing.
Me too.
Big time.
That's the one. I was like, everybody was like, no, you got to read Alan Moore's, and I did after I read Scott Snyder's. I was like, Scott Snyder's is better, man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's better.
It's really good.
And oh my gosh, this sounds so stupid. I'm getting chills. That's how dumb.
Dude,
I
no,
am.
it's
so
like
nerd.
I still regularly think about some of the things. It's so good.
I almost got a tattoo of number, I think it was issue 18. I almost got a tattoo of him holding Abigail, and just oh my gosh, I wanted to get a tattoo on my leg because that just meant so much to me around that time. And I don't know, but I'm a nerd.
No, dude, so are we. Like everyone in the band is nerdy about their own things. Comics are my thing. But honestly, like we've had so many, I don't know. Anyways, where everyone's nerdy in their own ways. We'll
get to it one day, but I promise Sam, we'll do one and we'll just go nerd all over each other. All right. Well, okay, I have one last question for you. I need to start doing this. So I want to do like one final question. Everybody asks this. I ask the same thing to everybody. Okay, so it's what band and what album from that band would you have loved to have been in the studio and part of watching them make?
You know what came to mind immediately? I love the band Copeland, and there's this album Eat, Sleep, Repeat, if you remember that one. Yes. So that one was one, and when it first came out, I was like, I don't get this, because I was like, really? I liked the previous stuff where it was like a lot heavier, and they were like, and then this comes out and it's like a lot of piano driven stuff, and I'm like, what are we doing? I was like, I don't get this at all. And then, but like 2 listens in, like full listens, I was like, I'm totally wrong. It's like, it's my favorite album from them. So I think that one, to hear like even the conversations around like we're changing directions.
Yes.
It still feels like the same writing. Like it's still like the same band. It's just like a very different production style, very different like flavor to the music. And like, I still love that album so much.
It is.
So that would be a good one.
Good. I like that. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, Micah, dude, thank you for your time. I'm so glad we did this. And I will get you on. We'll do something. I'll talk to Nate. We'll get some sort of live nerd fest. So it'll be great.
Dude, I'd love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again, man. I really appreciate it.
This was fantastic. I loved it. Thank you.
and so we all belong.